Hey there everyone, I'm Jeff, your tabletop technician here on the Dice Tower, continuing Jeff Week while the folks are over at Dice Tower East, and continuing my top 100 games, this time running 30 through 21. This is where things start to get pretty exciting. So let's kick it off. Number 30 on this list is the spiritual successor to the game of photosynthesis. This is Evergreen, also by Halmer Hawk. Unlike photosynthesis, however, this is a much more Euro experience as players are building up their own player board, trying to grow various vegetation, trees, and whatnot on 6 different biomes of their planet. You're doing that, of course, to get endgame score, but that endgame score is dictated by a number of cards that are not drafted throughout the game, and those dictate which of those environments will bloom at the end of the game and be worth the most points for every large tree that every player has in those environments. So it doesn't have that cutthroat chess with trees nature of photosynthesis, but still has a bit of unpredictability in what cards are going to accumulate there, contributing to the endgame scoring. And I think that's what makes it such a unique puzzle and makes it my number 30 on this list, Evergreen. Number 29 is one of the oldest games in my collection. I found this out through a YouTube channel some time ago, ended up picking up a copy because the theme and the setting just appealed to me. This is Archipelago by Christoph Bollinger. This is a fairly big, complex, heavy game, making it quite a unique challenge to sort of start off our hobby with this. And in fact, in this box are a ton of various notes, player aids, even some things that I made myself to try and help us remember how to play this thing. Of course, now we go back to visit it and we find so much more that you can do in this game. We find so many more ideas and mechanisms that you can bring into play. This is a game about exploring and settling the archipelago. You are coming in with a couple of colonists and establishing colonies, trying to grow your population, trying to sort of integrate the indigenous folks there into your labor force, and building churches, kind of just all that good stuff. You also have to occasionally contribute goods back to the motherland as things become demanded of you. And so there's a little bit of a semi-co-op nature that, of course, you can certainly use against your opponents if you wish. And it's that and so much more that just makes this a very unique experience. And like I said, one that we love to come back and check out when we can. My number 29, Archipelago. Number 28 is one of the largest boxes in my collection. Of course, it didn't start out that way, but this is one of the first games that I ever played with complete strangers in public. It's one of the first games I played here in the Richmond area with folks I didn't know who have now become some of my best friends. This is Everdell. Now, of course, this is the complete collection. We started off just playing the base game and the Pearlbrook expansion, but I fell in love with especially the art style of this game and that unique worker placement / engine building element that makes this game fairly unique. At least it was fairly unique. I think a lot of games are now kind of emulating a lot of those ideas, but this one is unrivaled in terms of that just beautiful art style, this idea of building a city in the forest of various anthropomorphic animals. And of course, you're placing workers to gather resources, triggering off various buildings in that city throughout each of the years of this game, or each year of this game. I guess there's multiple seasons in the game. Anyway, it's just a great puzzle and a beautiful looking game on the table. I do still enjoy that tree, although it can certainly annoy some folks. But it is my number 28, Everdell. Number 27 is the third and final city building game of this list. It's also a somewhat new addition to the list, but not necessarily a new game. This is Anno 1800 by Martin Wallace. Now, I originally played the Anno games on the Nintendo DS, and I really enjoyed them, but I had heard that this game was fairly abstract, that it didn't really feel like a city building game. And now, having played it, I really disagree. While it doesn't have the unique art direction and it doesn't necessarily look like a built-out built-out city in a game like, say, Suburbia. You're still trying to build these various factories, trying to produce resources, generating an engine to be able to produce more advanced equipment, tools, machinery, whatever it is that you're trying to make. And there's even this element where you can trade and purchase various components from your opponents to be able to keep your engine going. What I really like about this one is that you're placing these workers in these factories to generate the various resources from those factories, but eventually the factories fill up and you have to kind of throw a celebration and get everyone to go home so that you can then repeat that process. So what makes this game a challenge, and the part of it that I really enjoy, is that efficiency puzzle of trying to go as long as you possibly can before sending all your workers home and sort of resetting your board. That's the aspect of it that I've certainly enjoyed the most. This game has also encouraged me to go and check out the video game, which I have had a ton of fun playing. Both of them are very long, complex experiences. This game is a bit longer than I think than I would like it to be. Folks kind of tend to burn out on it before it's over, but I just enjoyed that puzzle over and over and over again, and that's why it's my number 27, Anno 1800. Number 26 is only the second worker placement game in this list, which I find a bit surprising even myself because I do tend to enjoy that mechanism. This game is also a legend in its own right. This is Viticulture by Stonemaier Games. And I think a lot of folks are familiar with this game. Obviously, a worker placement game where you're trying to work various aspects of a vineyard, planting the grapes, harvesting the grapes, mashing them into wine, letting the grapes and the wine age, and then of course trying to fulfill various orders. But you know, in that worker placement aspect, you may not be able to get to what you need to do when you need to do it. There are these visitors represented by cards that you can use throughout the game to kind of help make up for some of those blocked spaces, but it does make it a very challenging puzzle to fire things off at the right time in the right order. And that's one of the reasons why that I really enjoy this game. I also just love the way this thing looks on the table. And I've got just about everything there is to have for this game. I have the deluxe workers. I even have the fruit, I believe it's like a fruit and olive oil expansion that was a limited run from Stonemaier. I picked this up from a print and play that now has the rights to be able to print that expansion. So really enjoy everything this box has to offer. Viticulture, number 26. My number 25 is a game that I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with, and that the first time I played it, I absolutely hated it, but I could not stop thinking about it. I eventually went out and picked up my own copy, and now it's really one of my favorite games. This is The Very Heavy Obsession by Dan Halligan. The first time I played this, I didn't enjoy it at all. But it was a very, very long game, but we also had a rule wrong in that we were moving the first player, rotating that first player role in the wrong order. And so if you were the first player in one round, you were the last player in the next round, and you had to sit there forever to take your next turn. That was a prototype rule that got fixed in the first printing of the game, so it's not a problem. It is still a very long game to play with a lot of players. In fact, it's one of my favorite solo games, and I really like it at, say, maybe 2 or 3. In this game, you represent a family in Europe with a old estate, and you're trying to upgrade that state and the family's reputation back to its glory days. You're doing that by upgrading your mansion, by meeting new guests and hiring new workers, and then hosting events at your estate in these various rooms, inviting those guests to come over, and of course doing all that to build up your reputation. This is one of the first games I did a video for out on Board Game Breakfast. Had a lot of fun exploring the theme of this game, and that and other reasons, like I said, solo experiences especially, is why this is one of my favorite games now. Number 25, Obsession. My number 24 is the largest game in my collection, and I wonder, and you'll have to tell me in the comments, if there is a single game in a single box that is larger than this one, because this is the 10th anniversary to the game of Firefly, the 10th anniversary edition of the game of Firefly by Gale Force 9. Now, I was introduced to this very recently by my good friends Katie and Greg Barley. I mentioned them, I believe, earlier in the series. Greg's a big fan of this game, and he wanted me to check it out. I wasn't really into it because I didn't know anything about the IP. I had never watched the show. We're actually now just about done watching it. This is an open world game set in space where you represent a pilot or a captain of a spaceship, a small, usually freighter style type ship, and you're going around trying to build up your crew, collect weapons, equipment, whatever you might need, and then eventually meeting contacts, some of them legal, some of them quite not, to then take on various missions to, of course, get paid and keep flying. And what I really like about this one is it is very approachable. The rules are not overly complex. There's only 3 different areas of space with sort of increasing levels of danger, you could say, within those areas. And of course, you can play this very legally, although it'll be a little difficult to make your money, or you can play it a little more dangerously and hopefully rack up a lot of cash. I also really like the fact that there are different scenarios that you can check out, and some of those are focused on trying to make the most money, but some of them are also focused on trying to make, meet the most contacts, become solid with the most contacts in the game, and other challenges, other scenarios that are available. And I really like it for that flexibility. I mentioned Zaya earlier in this series and how many rules you have to learn for each of the different areas, each of the different types of even just spaces that are in that game. This one is far easier to get into, and that's why it has jumped a lot higher up on this list, even in a fairly short period of time. My number 24, Firefly. I'm moving through this list like clockwork, you can almost say with robotic precision, which makes it quite appropriate that my number 23 is Raising Robots by Nauvoo Games. I was introduced to this not too long ago at one of the Dice Tower retreats. I actually had already backed a copy. I was waiting for mine to show up, but got a chance to check it out early and had a lot of fun with this. If you see this on the table, if you see a player board, you're going to think that it looks a lot like Wingspan, and it has, I think, some common DNA with that game in that you are placing these robots into 3 different rows of a factory that you're running, and then you're triggering off various actions, some of them corresponding to those rows, some of them not. Some of them may let you get new robots out, trade for other resources, make upgrades, all kinds of other stuff that you could do in this game. But there's this unique player interaction element where you only get to pick 2 actions, but some of those actions may power additional actions or may provide power to actions that other players are choosing, and so you may find yourself getting to do more than just those 2 actions during the turn. And there's a lot of simultaneous play, which makes this a fairly quick game, but still quite a brain-burning experience. And that is certainly the aspect of it that I've enjoyed, along with that really adorable tech theme they have built into this, and that, of course, engine-building puzzle. So, a great game, one that I really enjoyed playing. Number 23, Raising Robots. Number 22 is the 3rd and final game on this list that I don't own. I got to play this at the Dice Tower retreat last year, and in fact, a shout out to Mr. Trey Lennox, who brought a copy for folks to get the checkout at the retreat. This is Ostia by Ukabakoya, the same publisher behind Aqua Garden. This is a fairly large game where you are running sort of your own version of the port of Ostia, and you're using that to try and explore these various trade routes, building new buildings at various ports. There's a set collection aspect to it. There's a lot going on in this game. But back in your own port, you're kind of playing this Mancala game, picking up little boats and moving them around the port, dropping them off as you go, either gathering resources, building resources up for various actions, and then triggering those actions. You may not be triggering the same action that you had built up resources for, though. So again, you have to really be careful, cautious, and you have to plan very carefully in how you're triggering off these actions. I did not think I was going to do very well with this game, but it really clicked with me. I really had a great time with it, and I'm looking forward to my copy showing up hopefully a little later on this year. Ostia by Ukabakoya, my number 22. My number 21, the last game of this list, is one that I didn't have to bring here to the cabin today because we have a copy on hand for our guests. This is Project L. And I chose this game to be here because it is a delightfully approachable, simple, abstract puzzle game where you're trying to fill in puzzles with these polyomino pieces that come in these just adorable acrylic colors. This is a game that really pops off the table, even just a simple wooden table like this. The black and white and the bright colors of these pieces just jumps out at you wherever this thing is sitting. I really enjoy this for the efficiency puzzle aspect of it. On your turn, you can do 3 things, and those things can range from taking a new basic piece, upgrading an existing piece, even downgrading an existing piece into larger or smaller shapes. You can acquire a new puzzle, you can place a piece on a puzzle, or you can do a master action, which lets you place up to 1 piece on every puzzle that you have in front of you. And it is that action that really opens up the efficiency challenge of this game. Obviously, there's a lot you're trying to do. These puzzles can give you points. They can also give you additional pieces, maybe sometimes both. And there's even an expansion that lets you get additional master actions from the puzzle tiles that you complete. And so because of that, because it is so simplistic and yet a very thinky puzzle and one that you have to plan for and play correctly, you can even get yourself into a scenario where you don't have any pieces left to be able to finish any of your puzzles, and that can really put you in a bind. And that's one reason why I certainly enjoy my time with my number 21 Project L. All right, that wraps up this list. I'm going to be back in Ashland for the next 10 and back here to wrap up this series. Really looking forward to it, and I will see you then. Cheers.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another video on the Dice Tower. Hey, do you want to know what's going on with Dice Tower? Do you want to know about our events, our cruises, special things that we're going to do live here in the Dice Tower? Subscribe to Dice Tower Digest. Go to dicetowerdigest.com. It's a newsletter that we send out bi-weekly. We won't use your email for anything else. It's just to get you some information about the Dice Tower so you'll be up to date. Thanks for watching.